everybody. Welcome to the Office 365 Pulse. We have the whole crew here again today for a fun show of features and functionality coming to Microsoft 365. I guess we need to change the name of our show to the Microsoft.
Oh, I've already been labeling it Microsoft 365
All right.
Pulse.
Adam is on top of it, the Microsoft 365 Pulse. So like we always do, we'll go through in development, rolling out, launch, and we have nothing on canceled this week. So we can pitter patter, let's get at her. Does anyone watch that? Do you guys watch Letterkenny?
I have not. I've never heard that one.
It's worth it.
Oh, Tom and Tamara, Letterkenny, y'all would dig that.
Writing it down. Well. Letterkenny.
It's about Canadian rednecks, basically. It's worth it.
No, it's different. Yeah.
There's other stuff, but that's the core of it.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So we'll jump right into it. So the first one I'll talk about it first. It was the play of the week for our Planet videos today, but it was task and teams. So I thought this one was really cool. So they're working on consolidating tasks across everything. So whether it's in Microsoft To Do, whether it's in SharePoint, whether it's Outlook, they're going to give you a smart view or an ability to basically see all of your tasks together inside of Microsoft Teams. I think this is a great way to roll it up. I think right now, one of the things that we have to answer is, when do I use what tool? I think this is a really hard thing to answer. So we want to not have to answer that question anymore. And the easiest way to not have to answer that question anymore is for it to not have to matter. Because if I can use any tool anywhere and it really kind of be the same thing and I can get to it anywhere, that would be super fantastic. So I'm really excited to see where they go with this. And I know whatever they do inside of Teams will then just roll into the other platforms as well, I'm sure. So super excited to see somebody trailblazing in this one. So should see something in a month or two, see what's coming there. So I thought that was super, super exciting. So I'll pass it off to, let's see, Tamara. Did you see anything interesting on the list?
Yes, Microsoft Teams announced when the PSTN participants join or leave a meeting for the government cloud customers. I'm so excited about this because people would dial into a meeting and you're like, who's that? Who's there? But now it's going to actually announce when they join and when they leave. So we'll have more information about who's in the meeting at what time.
Mm-hmm. And this is cool because this is one that they had launched already, I think, for Enterprise Cloud. And now they've got it in development for the GCC cloud. So I'm super, super excited about that. Super excited.
Yeah, we just recently turned it on, I think, in our area, which was a little disconcerting the first time somebody had dialed into one of our calls and you hear that so-and-so is joining the call. I'm like, huh? What? No, we're in Teams, not Skype.
Cool. How about you, Tom? What do you see that's exciting?
So a couple things that I'll hit on here that are completely and totally unrelated to each other. One is a saved for later web part that they are working on. And so what this means is you have the ability to mark things that are saved for later. And I know that they've been talking about this and referring to it over probably the last year and a half, it seems like. But it's kind of like bookmarking something to get back to it. It can be a page or whatever. Now they're going to have a web part that you can put on any page or news post that will show the items that you have marked for save for later. I think this would be really cool on like an internet homepage where you've got some personalization you want to throw in there. Throw in that web part, and on the homepage of the website, they're going to see, hey, here are the things I've marked for save for later. I can go out there and catch up on things that I need to be reading, which is really nice. The other one is Outlook for Windows, store settings in clouds. This will be nice in the fact that right now, the settings that you use on-prem with Outlook, let's say, the client, and what you have out in the cloud for Outlook, those can be different. Now you're going to have the option to be able to store that all up in the cloud, so it's synced, which means that your privacy settings are going to be the same, your focus inbox is going to be the same. So this is really nice, especially if you bounce back and forth between, hey, I'm at work, I use the Outlook client. Oh, now I'm on the road, I'm using the Outlook on my phone. I'm on a browser away, I just want to call in and see what's going in there. I think that's going to be a really nice way of giving a consistent experience across the board for
Yeah.
Outlook users.
Awesome. How about you, Adam?
Yeah, so I'm going to talk about one, and it's kind of interesting. This is actually not slated currently to release till Q4 of this year, which is one of the longer time frames you'll see when we're going through and looking at roadmaps. I think it just kind of speaks to this as kind of a difficult one. But basically, they're adding some extra controls around email forwarding and advanced threat protection. One of the most common things that people do whenever they infiltrate someone's email address. If they think it's someone that's important or they want the data, they basically just set up a blind forward to where it's forwarding all the messages but leaving the messages in the user's mailbox as well. As a result, oftentimes that can go for a shockingly long time before it's discovered. But if you think about it, say your CEO gets their email address compromised and every email is getting forward, that's where they really come in and do the social engineering and do some of the stuff like that that could be detrimental. So they're adding some tools that basically give better visibility to kind of some of the stuff that's going on. But the real part I like about this is they're also going to be going in and setting by default the ability to set external forwards is not going to be available. Right now, that's something just literally any end user can go in and do inside of their Outlook. They're going to make it so it's more a process controlled to the admins on the back end of ATP and has it locked down by default with the users, which why I could see there's certain use cases where a user will, oh, I really want to do that. Realistically, most of the time that's a set up one time and forget about it type of a deal, and the potential security ramifications of having that compromise are much, much bigger. So all in all, I think they're really, really good changes and happy to see it coming. So that's something that hopefully by the end of the year, we'll start to see some organizational and security-wide changes that just makes it easier for people to not get compromised, basically.
Awesome. Well, one last one that they have here that I think is pretty interesting is add to OneDrive. And so right now, when you share folders or people share folders alongside of you're able to get to them through your OneDrive client, but it's through this shared with you folder. So then you can navigate down and see, oh, Corey shared it with me, and then I can drill down and find it and I can do whatever. Well, to be honest, typically if I'm working with somebody a lot, we're sharing files a lot, and the files I want to work with are pretty common and I want to get to them a lot. Well, I don't really want to go through a big tree structure to say I shared with Corey, now I have to find it through that, because it's not relevant to me based on it being from Corey. It's relevant to me based on what we're actually working on. And so now I'm going to be able to somehow access them and share them and show them directly through OneDrive. I'm sure it will still be visible that it's a shared file with me, but I'll be able to show it and display it differently right along with my other files. So I'm excited to see what they come with this. This is also slated for Q4. So we'll see where they land with this one. So that's something that's coming there. So now we're moving in. Yeah, go ahead. Is there another one?
Yeah, there's another one that I thought I would go ahead and bring up, which is the SharePoint site header updates.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
Yeah, they're now going to allow people who create sites to show or hide the site title, and also to have logos that aren't necessarily your perfectly square logos. They're both going to be in the site settings, change the look panel, so it will be easy to work with. That seems pretty minor, but I've had a few people who build sites who are like, well, I think the title takes up too much room, or I want to have a logo that looks like this rather than like this. Okay, great. Now knock yourself out, go for it. So I think that's going to be pretty minor, and hopefully people will not take advantage of that going, I'm going to have a logo that stretches clear across the page. Like, don't do that, please. Just don't do that. So that's coming out hopefully here in May, and we can see what that looks like.
Very cool. All right. Did I miss any others?
That looks good for me.
Awesome.
Nope,
awesome.
that's good.
Beautiful. All right. Now moving to rolling out. I think we've covered this one, I feel, a lot, so I'll just touch on it pretty quickly. This is rolling out. I am sad that this is not yet in our tenant. I keep checking every day as I'm going to find sites that I've touched recently, but they're not in my frequent and they're not in my followed yet, but I still can't find them. But SharePoint home sites. So when you hit SharePoint on your Microsoft 365 tenant and it takes you to the SharePoint home, this is going to be rebranded and relayed out so that you can get to more relevant content. Right now, there's a lot of white space and everything's very big, would be the way to say it. And when the new layout comes out, things are going to be smaller, more organized, more structured, more based on AI and what you do and where you go. So I'm very excited about this. This is rolling out. You should be seeing it in your tenants. It says May, so it's May 5th. So I'm counting down the days. I will do a happy dance when it finally hits my tenant. We're not in that group yet, but it should be soon. I'm hoping. But that was one of the ones that I thought was super excited. I'll pass to Adam now.
Yeah, the only thing I'll note, and we definitely have talked about this one, but I'll leave other stuff for Tom and Tamara. The natural language search is finally getting launched. We've talked about it a lot. That's basically searching more as you would speak to someone instead of specifically keywords. So that's coming out for the mobile devices for both Outlook and iOS. Tom?
I was going to say, it seems like the whole rolling out was pretty much the Outlook for the mobile devices. Another one that they had out there was top results for getting the best 3 results from your keyword search presented at the top of your search, in addition to the other things in chronological order. So I think that will improve the search on the mobile device. Because some people are like, I really don't like it and it doesn't give me what I want. I think it's getting a lot of attention and improvement now, along with the suggested people and actionable search results. So if you type in theoretically something like John's phone number, it's going to come back with contacts for John and try to get you closer to where you're at, where you need to be in the information you want. So it's kind of a little bit like Adam's point, where natural language search, being able to get people actionable search results, things you can actually work on and do rather than just data. So yeah. I like what they're doing with the whole search concept there in Outlook, and hopefully that will continue to roll through the rest of the Outlook platform, both for web and client at the same time.
It's funny because when I hear this, I just think of my parents. Like my parents, 1,000%, if they needed John's phone number, would type in John's phone number, not trying to like look up the contact of John. So it will definitely help out some people.
Too funny.
Tamara, do you see anything in the rolling out category worth kind of mentioning?
No, not really. It's all the important stuff has been covered.
All right, well, then we will give you first in the launched category. So what has made it to launch? I think a lot of these we might have already talked about as well, but is there anything in the launch category that you want to highlight for us?
I'm a little excited about Microsoft Teams priority notifications. So you can share urgent messages or time-sensitive information more effectively with Teams. So the priority notification alerts, if the recipient of an urgent message is on their mobile or desktop device, it's going to alert them to this every 2 minutes for up to 20 minutes. It's like automatic nagging.
Hey, you.
Are you there
Hey,
now?
you.
Can you hear
Hey,
me
you.
now? Can you hear me now?
Hey, you.
Exactly. Now that's just going to be a promotion. It'll be unlimited. So it'll be a promotion from July 2019 to December 31st. And you can send an unlimited amount of urgent notifications. Use your powers for good, people. Use your powers for good. Don't abuse this. But starting January 1, the licensed users will be able to send priority notifications according to the terms of their subscription. So it's kind of a try before you buy kind of option.
This sounds terrible to me, but you know, yeah. All I need is like more nagging. Like yeah.
I love it. I love it. All right. Well, I will go with users can pin apps to the Teams left rail, so they can customize what apps appear on their left rail in Teams, allowing them to quickly access the apps that they use on a daily basis. Now they can fully customize it. IT admins can also disable the ability to do that. So there we go. So Microsoft gives us the ability to do it and gives the admins the ability to say no. Win-win, right? Win-win, everyone.
I've had a ticket open up with Microsoft for 4 weeks on this now, where it's not going well.
Oh no.
Oh,
so
no.
We'll see if they gave us the ability to do it, Jen.
All right. Well, moving on. Tom, what do you see in there?
I'll touch a couple here up at the front end of our list for launch stuff. One is the differential sync for all file types in OneDrive for Business. This was something that we saw, what was it, 2 years ago at the SharePoint conference in Vegas. And what they had done is they had taken a 1 gig image file, and he called it up in Paintbrush and basically put a little text box on there and saved it. And 1 gig, you're expecting, okay, that's going to take 3-4 minutes to upload and save. It took like a second because it was only updating and saving that part of the file that had changed. Everybody just, I think their jaws all kind of went, ah. I'm really looking forward to that, because even though you may not necessarily notice it, that should have a huge impact on your network utilization. So now that it's... What?
You said last year in Vegas or 2 years ago in Vegas, and I was like, oh, back when we got to go places. And
there you go. Wow.
Feels so long ago.
I'm so bummed now.
Well,
Thank you
Tom,
for that, Galliner.
I think this is important for another reason. With everybody working at home,
Uh-huh.
with all the different internet connections and the speeds at which they connect and the frequency at which they drop, that's going to be really important for getting large files up into the cloud.
Makes me wonder if perhaps they push that one a little forward, because I know it's been out there for like 2 years now as a suggested, and I kind of thought it was already out there, but apparently it's not. So it's nice to see them push that. One other thing that I'll just point out, I've tried this in the past and I wasn't terribly impressed, and that is you can export the tasks in a planner plan to an Excel file. I did that for Kix once, just to say, okay, let's see what this looks like. And quite honestly, when I looked at it, it's like, I don't know what I would do with this data in the format that they're giving it to me in. And okay, I suppose that you can take that then maybe and put it into other formats and stuff like that. I didn't find it terribly useful, but again, that was probably a year ago when I last tried it. So I need to take another look at that and see what an Excel file exported from Planner actually looks like now, as opposed to what it may have looked like a year ago.
I did this like 3 weeks ago. It basically reminded me of like looking at forms data in Excel format. Like, sure the data's there, like that's fine, but like I don't know why I wouldn't like the nice visualizations that easily shows stuff,
Well, yeah, and plus they had headers and a column that had other. It's like, this is not data I can immediately feed into something else. It's got to be manipulated to get there. So it's there. It's great. If it's something you've been looking for, give it a shot. See if it works for you.
How about you, Tamara? Anything exciting?
Let's take a look here. I was going to talk about that differential sync for all types of files in OneDrive, but Tom grabbed that one.
Oh gosh, I'm in trouble now when this call's over. I'll keep my door closed and locked.
I thought it was interesting that in Outlook, in the iOS, they're going to show week numbers now in the calendar, which I think is really beneficial for a lot of financial companies for knowing which week it is. I would be interested to see if you can change the start date of that year. So
you can get it to your fiscal and stuff.
Exactly. Exactly. So that would be interesting to see. I haven't experimented with that. I don't have an Outlook device. I mean, I don't have an iOS device. So I haven't had a chance to look at it yet.
Well, you can send me a priority notification and come over to my office and see whether or not it works. Tom, can we check? Tom, can we check? Tom, can we check? Tom, can we check?
Oh, that's funny. All right, the last one. Well, there's two more that I like. I'll say one of them, and then someone else can say the other if they don't get it. The other one if I don't get it. But I think syncing message center post to planner is kind of cool. I think this is great because it allows us to put in process easily to message center posts. So message center is where they're going to send out the notifications that, hey, y'all, stuff is happening to your tenant. So the roadmap is where they're telling us stuff is happening to the world of tenants and stuff is going on. The message center is where it becomes more personal. It's where they say, hey, it's about to happen to your tenant. And based on the change that is coming, they have to give you certain notifications in the message center. They'll tell you, hey, you can go into PowerShell and turn this off, or hey, you need to check this, or hey, maybe you should tell your users, or hey, change is coming. Well, now you're
training documentation.
Yeah, now you're going to be able to sync those messages with Planner, and you're going to be able to do follow-up tasks, or maybe send something to the trainer or something. And so I think now those teams that are managing that are going to have an easier time integrating with and syncing with and creating a process around how do we manage this that's going on there, and do we have weekly meetings? Do we have whatever? I know in some teams that I've worked with, especially smaller teams, say you've only got 3 people. Let's say we've got an example of 3 people on a team right now. Like Tom, you've got 3 people primarily on your team that are doing this. When I was on a team and we only had 3 or 4 people doing it, we each took a month, and that was our month to be responsible for it. And we all had weekly meetings, and during that weekly meeting, it was our month to kind of do the summary and give it out to everybody. We didn't do all the work, but it was our month to be the babysitter in chief. And we were kind of pulling it all in, and then we would pass it to the next person. So we kind of spread the load, but we all kind of followed the same process. And that worked really well for a smaller team. But now tools like this are going to make it a lot easier to do. So I'm super excited about that getting launched. So I thought that was cool.
I'll go ahead and pick one up here. On Microsoft Teams, channel cross-posting. So channel cross-posting has been out there for a while, and what it enables you to do is say, I've got a message which is like, hey, there's muffins in the break room, back when we all went into offices that had break rooms and people brought muffins in. But what you could do is, instead of having to go post that separately in 4 or 5 or 6 different teams, you could post it in one team and then have it cross post to these other team channels, which was great. The problem is, once you did that, they were all pretty much separate messages at that point. And if you had to go make a change, or you needed to delete it or something like that, you had to go make it in each one separately. Well, they've now updated the whole channel cross posting, where if you edit a cross posted message, now you can get it to apply to all the different versions of the message that are out there. So I think that's going to be nice and make the cross posting a lot more useful in the fact that you can maintain it in your one location and not forget to update something that may be critical. It's like, hey, muffins are gone. And you still find that people in 3 other teams are like, where's my muffins? Well, I posted that they were gone. Well, no, you didn't, and everything else. Now you can make sure that that hits across all the original locations that you moved it out to. So I think that'll be a nice change, and I'm looking forward to seeing that one.
Very cool.
Anyone else have anything? The 3 that I was interested in, no one has talked about yet.
Go for it, Geek.
I'll give you all the options.
I think I know which ones you're going to talk about. And I love the one that you're going to talk about, but you always say Jennifer's interested in that one and loves it, so go for it.
Well, so that I was kind of holding out because I figured I knew which one you wanted to mention, and I'm going to take the nerdy admin one. Like, are you sure, Jen?
All right, so the productivity score is finally live. Is that the one?
No, it actually wasn't.
Oh, well then, the productivity score is live, y'all. So this is going to be one that lets you go in and look at how your users are communicating and collaborating across. I was just actually looking at this morning, and we went in, and the tenant I was looking at, we are above average, but below where I want us to be. We do a really great job communicating, but you know what we don't like to do? We don't like to @mention people in emails.
Yeah.
And that was very interesting to me. We don't do that. And we also, for the love of God, we love to send email attachments. We will send email attachments. That just is ingrained in us. And so I'm going to get a little buzzer so that every time we attach something, it gives us a little electric shock. So we're gonna work on that. I'm gonna get some campaigns going, and so I think it's just habit, right? A habit. So we've got some habits there. But again, I said the tenant I was looking at, it's really great. It's there now. This only available right now in enterprise tenants, and you have to have an E3 business license. Some things you can't even do unless you have Intune going on. So there's some things that you have to have, and like when you don't use Yammer, the tenant I was looking at does not use Yammer, so you get some very skewed results. It does a good job of taking those results out, so it doesn't skew the numbers totally. It just recognizes that, hey, they have zeros all across, so we're not using it. And it's using a lot of data. It's using a lot of data from Forrester on how people work to go in and get the calculation. So they do a good job of telling you how do people work and how are we calculating this, and then what are they benchmarking you against according to your other organizations your size made up of your consistent organizations like you. So I thought it was very interesting. I'm going to continue to play with that and drill into that a little bit more. So I find it very interesting. I think the best way to learn and to do change management is to kind of go in and look at those types of things. So that was the only other one that I found super exciting. I thought that was the one Adam was going to talk about, but maybe not.
The average scores for any of those are all like shockingly and depressingly low. Like you go in and it's like the average score 4, and it's like 4 out of 570 if you're doing something like Secure Score, and you're just like, what? But anyways, I figured the one you were interested in, because all of us have talked about this at some point. Fluid Frameworks is in public preview.
Oh.
Which we
I
all
think
like
we've talked
Fluid
about
Framework,
it so much.
It's just actually announced it's in public preview now, so I figured I'd mention that. The other two ones are really geeky, nerdy admin stuff, so I will mention them briefly, but try not to let everyone's eyes glaze over here. The first one being, if we're actually going through and looking at auto classification of labeling. I'm not going to get too deep into what this is actually doing, but if you're doing different types of labeling, Microsoft has made a big push to go to what they're now calling the Microsoft Information Protection, which used to be Azure Information Protection, which used to be Azure Rights Management, which used to be Information Rights Management. Like one of those things, right? But now that we've gone to Microsoft Information Protection, auto classifying of labels, which happens under the umbrella of the unified labeling system, is basically just a way of something that honestly this type of feature used to only be in Cloud App Security, so net win for everyone because you don't have to buy an extra license. But say you want to automatically apply a label to certain OneDrive documents or certain SharePoint sites, maybe you don't always trust your users to remember to go in and label everything a certain label in a SharePoint site. Maybe you decide, okay, this needs to be internal classified only. Well, now you have the ability to go in and say anything in the SharePoint site needs to be labeled internal classified only. So even if your user forgets to take that manual step, which previously, if you didn't have Cloud App Security, they had to do, it will now go in and auto label it for you. So win-win, I see. It gives administrators a little bit more control, which is something that's nice and something that'll make it a little bit easier for people to do. And the other thing that I was actually going to talk about, or going to mention at least when you're going through and looking at it, is going through and being aware of per site sharing whenever you go through and do it from the SharePoint side. Basically having the ability to have existing access links. So when you're going through and you're sharing the per site level links, default to people with existing links, it kind of is all built in. So you don't have to go in and choose anyone. It's going to make it a little bit more of a streamlined process. Just make it easier for you to manage. That's it for me.
One thing I'd like to mention is in Microsoft Teams, you can now share system audio in live events, which I think this is so important for the government agencies that are using Teams to do like their town halls, their council meetings, their boards and commissions, because people will come with video, and up until then there was no way to listen to the video, and now we can actually hear the video. So I think I'm really excited and really kind of geeking out over it.
We did this just last week in our team trivia.
And did I not get so psyched about
and she was like, wait, how are you doing this? It was great. It was great.
Really and truly excited.
It was funny. I had my door open while she was doing that, and you guys were having your trivia contest, and something was said, and I could hear her voice very clearly. And Sandra, who I was on a call with, she's like, "So what's Tamara doing?" It's like, she's really excited about something over there.
Oh, the joys of working from home.
Yep.
I love it. I am so happy we work from home. And for
It's
those
great.
of you who are unaware, Tamara and I are domestic partners. So yeah, if we make reference to, oh, why are they in the same location? We're in the same house.
Yeah.
We're in the same office building, but not in the same offices.
This is true.
Yeah, you definitely have different views there.
About to
No.
say, Tom
Well,
is in a very open windowed area. Tamara looks like she's in like a cozy home office.
Well,
Exactly.
and actually, when we move to our upstairs duplex unit in July, she's going to be on a different floor. So yeah, she's like really moving up in the world with her office.
It's probably best to keep them on a separate floor, Tamara. I understand.
Well, my office space
Ouch.
will double. I'm very excited.
Nice.
Uh,
Nice.
One final thing, I was actually surprised none of us mentioned this. The suggested replies in Outlook, I've noticed that popping up in my Outlook iOS. I'm sure you guys probably have too.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
In my head, I think of this as like Gmail feature because that's where I first saw it. But same thing, if you get an email to someone and like, you know, your response is like, no, like, you know, we're good or something like that, like it takes context from the message and gives you like 3 or 4 options at the bottom that you could click and it just insert for you and not have to worry about it. So
Yeah,
kind of cool.
it's nice.
Which is great if you're getting your emails on your watch or something like that.
Or just
Yep.
getting emails at like 10 o'clock at night because, you know, work-life balance doesn't exist.
I
at certain
can't read at 10 o'clock at night.
If that ever happens to us, she basically takes the phone and says, "Can you read this?" Like, well, if you hold it close enough, maybe.
Too funny. Well, I think that's all I have. Does anyone else have anything? If not, we can kind of wrap it up for today.
Good.
I
Awesome.
think that
Well,
takes care of it.
thanks everybody. We'll be back next week with some additional updates and we hope you enjoyed the show. Thanks everybody.
Bye.
Bye
all.
now.